So I mentioned that on Thursday I had a pretty insane panic attack, and I've had quite a few, and I'd say even in the last like 5 or 6 years I've had a few that I have been able to really accurately diagnose as panic attacks. And this past Thursday, I mean, like, I think the pills that I'm taking help for reducing the frequency at which these things happen, but there's still a psychological sort of, it's a behavior self-control that I need to get better about. And that's sort of what I'm gathering right now, just talking to, the couple of weeks I've been talking to my therapist, is starting these cognitive behavioral exercises to try to calm things down. So, I'm just going to assume that we've all had our share of panic attacks here. So, Acc, I'll start with you. How do you cope when you have a panic attack?
I think when it comes to a full-blown panic attack, I've only ever actually had one. So that's not really as much my issue. Mine's more sort of like a long simmering anxiety over the arc of my life, rather than like events that are like real big panic attacks. Mm-hmm. As I said earlier, for me it's more about making sure I have the time to let myself calm down and come to the realization that what I'm panicking about isn't as big a deal as I think. A big problem of mine that obviously has gotten better over time is sort of escalation of a problem where, I'll make a mistake, a very small, minor mistake that usually people wouldn't care about. And then if I'm in that bad headspace, my brain turns that into, oh, so you can't do anything right. You are literally a complete failure. You have never done a single thing right in your life. You're a burden to everyone who's ever had to put up with you. The world would see a net improvement in overall quality if you didn't exist. And it's like, somehow I've gone from, oh shit, I made this incredibly minor mistake, to, well, killing myself is the only viable solution for the betterment of humanity.
Speaking my language.
Same here.
That makes, when I'm in a good headspace like right now, spelling that out like that, I'm like, wow, that's insane. That makes no sense whatsoever. Who the hell would think like that? But the answer is me when I'm in a bad headspace. So I think, the medication and the cognitive training sort of helps you pump the brakes on that and go, whoa, buddy, calm the fuck down. What are you talking about? You are completely blowing this out of proportion.
Yeah, I holy shit, can I sympathize with that? Because I like on Thursday when the whole shit hit the fan for me, it was all, I said it before, a comedy of errors, and it was little things, but the key thing around it was no one else knew what was happening. And no one else, I said I was on a conference call. There were a lot of people in that call, some of which I didn't even know. They didn't know. They didn't care. And those are things that, like, in hindsight, like when I look at it retroactively, okay, is why I would love to go back to that moment and tell myself it's the only person who is upset and worked up over it is me. Mm-hmm. You said you, referring to me. But it didn't affect anyone else, and it didn't affect anyone else in the house. It only affected me, and it was something that I could have just kept my mouth shut and walked it off, and but I was in that same mindset, and that's the mindset I get into whenever these panic attacks come on, is that I just feel like I'm failing. I can hear the voices in my head of people whom I no longer associate telling me that, hey, you suck. The only thing you're good at is failing. And it's obviously, it's not a good mindset to be in, but then bad things happen. So, Nate, what about you? Same question. How do you cope when you feel things are starting to fall apart?
It's interesting because up until when you posed the question, I never really realized that I've never really been awake for a panic attack. Let me explain. Most of my panic attacks happen at night, and I wake up to them. Like, I wake up, my heart is racing, I feel like I'm having a heart attack, I'm sweating, I'm confused, I'm not fully awake, I'm not aware of what's going on. I feel like I'm spiraling out of control. A lot of the casual signs of, things not being okay. A lot of what you were saying spoke to me. The questions of, like, I'm a failure, like I'm not doing anything productive in this world. Like, it all, spirals around. But when I'm able to get to a moment of understanding what's going on, when you recognize that you're having the event, again, asking yourself certain questions has helped me. I basically ask myself, how is this helping? Like, how is your mode of thought getting you to a better place? How is it working for you? Because for me, I feel like I have anxiety as a means to protect myself about the future. Like, I feel like if I worry about something, I can prevent it, or I can stop it from happening, or control it better. And this feeling of not having control is like ironically, the thing that's helped me the most is when I realize, hey, this isn't something you can control. This is not something you're able to steer. So you're not really going to benefit from worrying about it. This is something that I've used a lot for what's been going on now. Like, I've been so worried about getting the virus that I haven't been able to focus on anything. But then I realized, instead of being angry at people not socially distancing and being angry at people who aren't taking precautions and putting me in danger, I've kind of stepped back and been like, I'm not in control of whether I get it or not. If I get it, it's just, that's it,
Yeah.
Like, and I know that's a really weird solution of just being like, I don't have control over it, so why the fuck am I worrying about it? Like, that mindset is kind of weird thinking, but it's it's helped me. I don't know if it's gonna help anyone because I'm so fucking weird, but
Yeah.
like, asking myself, how is this helping, and is this something I can control, have been what's gotten me back to normal.
I try to stop myself ever since, and I sound like I sound a little ridiculous. I'm going to make myself sound a little self-conscious, a little ridiculous, because this is literally something that my therapist told me about. Again, I keep going on my therapist. All 2 weeks I've been talking, not even 2 weeks. I think it's just been a week at this point.
A lot can happen in that long, so give yourself credit.
All 8 days I've been talking to her. Just a couple days ago, she told me about, the one of the first, like, cognitive behavior exercises that we're doing. It's like a, it's a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 methodology, I guess. And what I try to do is, like, I'm outside yesterday doing yard work, and I should probably be cognizant of my surroundings to some degree, considering I am walking around with a lawnmower with something that could be used as a weapon. But I find myself starting to get lost in thought over things that happened in the past year that have been bothering me, that finally drove me to, finally reach out and seek help, professional help. And I start thinking about those things, and whenever this happens, I start thinking about, how could this have gone differently? What would have happened if I blew my stack? If I took a situation and made it a lot worse and did something I'd regret. And when that starts happening, I get worked up and I get angry. And then it obviously affects the people around me. But then B, if I'm doing something like yard work, then I start fucking up. Now the lines that I'm doing with my mower aren't straight. Now you look at my backyard and you can actually see when I was distracted, lost in thought versus when I was focusing, because the lines are all fucking zigzag.
Sorry. I find that just somewhat amusing that you have a visual representation of like, yep, see that curve? That's when I had a mental breakdown.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's that's also that's all something I should take into consideration next time I start feeling blue. But I
over here we have the panic gardens, and on your left you can see the fountain of discontent. And
I stopped and I started looking around and I started telling myself, I started asking my questions just about my surroundings. Like, okay, cool. Is my neighbor outside? What's my neighbor doing? What shit does he have on his deck right now? Let's point all the things out that he has on his deck. What can I hear besides the sound of the lawnmower? Right? Just I'm starting to like intentionally and purposely distract myself by asking what seem like stupid simple questions, but it's because I need to answer them. I need to point these things out. So, and those are, it's baby steps, but that's when the things start getting hectic, when they start getting cloudy, that's what I do. I'm trying to do that now anyway. It's easier said than done, but hopefully it's I was just telling you guys during the break, I'm trying to play guitar every day now, trying to sit down and dedicate 20 or 30 minutes just playing, and I've already noticed that my skill is improving just playing every day, because that's something you gotta do. You gotta work on it a little bit. Now I wish I could say the same about that treadmill I have in my basement that's been gathering dust since February, but you work at it every day and you get better at it. So hopefully if I really put to work in my mind these things, I'll get better at it. So
that's interesting, because you've used guitar as like a meditation, which is highly recommended for people like us. I was never good at it because I always get in my own head of like, oh, I suck at meditation, but maybe that could work for you guys. I don't know if you've experienced anything about meditation, but yeah, they say it's great.
I know Matt Skiba from Alkaline Trio, Blink-182, he does a lot of meditation. He says that's helped him, and he also lives a what do they call it? Straight edge, like a straight edge lifestyle. Like he doesn't drink, he doesn't do drugs, because he just meditates instead. See, I'm fidgety, and I'm very impatient, and I need to just constantly be moving around. So like, that's why for me it's music. Like playing guitar, at least like my arms and hands and fingers are going every which way. Playing the drums, I mean, I need to be, A, I can only do that during certain times of the day. B, I need to be prepared to just be a sweaty, disgusting mess afterwards. But it's a workout, and that's hitting things. That's what's great about that. Then I get to hit stuff, but at least I get to be, in a rhythm and melodic when doing so.
Fun fact, that's why I became a drummer.
Well, there you go.
If you remember, for a short period of time in my life, I was a drummer.
Oh yeah.
And that's why I started playing the drums. Then the reason why I stopped, because I realized I wasn't good at it, but also because I was a drummer for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the cowbell and woodblock. I still have them somewhere.
Symbols that you somehow impressively destroyed in one day. Never to this day have seen a drummer just be like, here, you could use my symbol.
Just
cracked in half.
Hey, I'll do
symbols. So.
I'll do you one better. I played about 10 years ago now. I played a show with my band, and I managed to actually lose the cymbals in the course of the night.
Wow.
So I didn't shred them. I didn't break them. I just straight up lost them. And before I transition to my last question for you guys, I have something for you. Here you go.
I'll have 2 number 9s, a number 9 large, a number 6 with extra dip, a number 7, 2 number 45s, 1 with cheese, and a large soap.
Yeah, I'm glad you found that. I think I was hungry the other day, and my way of telling Stephanie was by reciting that to her.
You needed 2 number 45s.
And a lab soda.
I just love that there's a fast food restaurant that their menu options go up to 45.
If you've ever watched like the Gordon Ramsay or Robert Irvine shows where he like goes to terrible failing restaurants and turns them around, a surprisingly common problem with them is he'll open their menus and be like, okay, you guys are supposed to be a pancake joint and you sell sushi. Like, why do you have 75 items on your menu?
Yep.
I actually get nervous when I go to a restaurant and they have too many items on the menu. I'm like, this is not going to be really
Now I know, because of Robert Irvine, that if you have more than like 50 things on your menu, half of them you haven't cooked in 10 years.
Yeah.
You're going to have to scrape them out from the back of the freezer in order to make it for me.
No, this is a local reference, but the British Beer Company, all over New England, and then the owner closed almost all the ones that aren't on the Cape, basically, because he is of a retirement age and didn't want to be maintaining restaurants that are too far from home. But another problem that they had was the menu. Every time you go, the menu would always change because they had a trillion things on there, and then they were always gradually cutting them down, and it was the same exact thing. It was either you could get burgers and pizza or you could get sushi. It didn't just pick one family of food that you want to stick to. Stop confusing us. Stick with your whatever the fuck it was that Stefan got that one time that we still make fun of him for. Happy birthday to Stefan, by the way. The bangers and mash, the thing that was very phallic when he got it.
Oh yeah.
Of course, it was like sausage and meatballs. It was the perfect thing for Stefan. So hopefully, ending on a more positive note, when with everything happening right now with COVID, with the unrests, the protests, the cop killings that just don't seem to end, what would you consider to be your quote unquote perfect escape? Acc, I'll start with you.
Video games. I think, one thing is we live in such a cool time, right? So like, I called my grandma the other day. She's 91.
Grandma Dot. Woo!
And she was asking like, oh, have you talked to your cousins recently? And I told her, yeah, I play World of Warcraft with 2 of my cousins. I talk to them literally every day. And that's just neat. Like, it's quarantine. We can never see each other face to face. We haven't hung out in person in months, but I talk to them every single day because we log on World of Warcraft and we go goof around and do dumb shit together in a video game. And that's really therapeutic. Like, to have that escape to a world that's normal and unchanging. And this is specifically World of Warcraft Classic, a game that a bunch of dumb assholes like me wanted, even though it's literally 17 years old at this point.
Tibia.
And you can tell, there are certain things about it that are objectively garbage in view of the advancements we've made in technology in the last 2 2/3 decades.
Yeah.
And yet there's something so soothing about it. It's the same game that has not changed in 17 years. And it's just like slipping into an old pair of pajamas that just, they're ratty, they're falling apart, but they're just so comfortable.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, it
but
makes perfect sense. Yeah.
It is just very relaxing to me.
Now, I will, before I get to Nate, I will say I'm doing the same thing. But it's odd because I've been playing Far Cry 3 recently. I had an urge to play Far Cry 3. So I've been playing that. I've also been, I need to finish Horizon because they just announced the new one.
Oh yeah.
But these are games that they're challenging, and I'm finding myself getting angry because I keep getting killed because I'm just not good at anything. And see, that's the stuff that boils up the blood. What's cathartic is playing a game, and I keep going on about it, Fallout 76, because that game you can just sit back and you're just exploring and occasionally shooting up things, but there's it's not difficult. It's almost not difficult at all to take down enemies in that game. And that is the game that I play if I'm just I just need to zone out and feel like I'm not putting a lot of effort into anything. And it's games like Fallout, games like you want to know why I've bought Skyrim on every fucking platform that it has come out on? Because it is a game that I can just sit back and just play, and I don't need to worry about anything else except for the dragon that's gonna come fucking Fus Rodami off a cliff.
Yeah, and the drunk Netch.
You get the Randy Savage mod where he's
I had that in
Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah. I had the Randy Savage Deathclaw mod in Fallout 4. That was always awesome. Great. Even for Randy Savage, one of my favorite things is if you kill the Deathclaw, he just goes, I'm such a disappointment. I've never been so bad at anything in my life.
For some reason, Jack, you know how for a while like the hot meme on the internet was to say "Okay, Boomer."
Yeah.
For some reason, every time I ever heard anyone say that line, all I could think of was the Gaben boomer mod you had for Left 4 Dead, where he would just walk around and instead of making like vomitous boomer noises, you just hear, "My favorite class is the spy."
Yeah, it's just all the audio was from him. I don't remember what it was, but he was he gives out his email address at one point, and they just cut the Gabe N part out of it. So there was nothing better than playing Left 4 Dead, turning the corner, seeing Gabe Newell as a boomer lift his arms up to explode, but just utter a Gabe N before blowing up. that was like the mod to end all mods. There was no point to ever install any other mod for anything because making Gabe Newell a boomer was it. Oh well, turning the jockeys into Beavis too. That was also pretty good.
Yes, I remember that too.
Left 4 Dead had some good mods. Nate, your perfect escape when you're trying to get away from the world.
It's video games is a big one. Also working on comedy videos or planning my comedy career or keeping busy. Those two have been my perfect escape. I've been doing like arts and crafts though too, like posting, hey, what do you want me to draw for you? I can't draw. I don't have any talents drawing, so I figured it would be funny to just post things like, hey, challenge me to draw something and I'll draw it. Like nice. Just little tiny things to keep me busy.
I'm in sort of a same boat with just doing, for the 6 people that listen to the show and have dedication to it, just the effort that I put in the Hardly Focused and the production pieces and just getting everything ready to go and then posting it, doing the promotion and all that stuff. That's, escape for me too. Because at that point I'm, focused on this project, and I know it can be good and sound good, and it's just a matter of, actually focusing the time to put it together. But once I start working on it, man, that's it. I'm lost. Nothing else matters. I just want to get that done. Hey, I'm glad that we talked about this.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I actually got some. I feel like I got really good insight just because I'm a noob to professional help, but like I said half jokingly earlier, the 3 of us especially are all fucked up. So I figured, what better people to talk to about this sort of thing and get your own insight on it. So, obviously from the mental health side and with the way things are going right now, I wish the 2 of you the best of luck with that. And, hopefully, thanks. Hopefully things get better. So.
I mean, I'll say just from a personal, selfish perspective, I am absolutely an introvert. So the quarantine has had essentially no effect on my life whatsoever.
Yep, same.
Not being able to go out and be around people in person is my default state. So, but I very much sympathize for the people who have been struggling a lot with the changes. And Nate, you mentioned, it's been tough. So,
it's just you pointed out that it's been good for me up until recently. I was with my girlfriend. She was visiting, but now she's gone home, and I've relocated back to my apartment. Yeah. And then that's when it was a wake-up call. I was like, wow, I've really had it good Like I was one
Yeah.
of those people that was fortunate to be like, I actually kind of enjoy this. This is actually kind of nice. And now I'm like, oh, this is why everyone's sad.
Yeah.
I get
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's something that's very easy to do is forgetting that we're not the only people affected by this.
Yeah.
And that's something I've been guilty of pretty much daily at this point. It's just remembering that, like when I'm at work and I'm on a video conference with all my coworkers and they're all at home, just remembering like, hey, they're doing the same thing and they all have to deal with this in their own way and make things easier for them. And I know for some, you know, you wouldn't know that things are different. And then there are others where you can tell that their tone has changed, their attitude has changed, and you know they're struggling. You know they're trying to do their best, but it's just tough with the way things are. So
Yeah. Well, we shall see how I do, because as an extrovert, I was around somebody and it was nice. So we'll see how long it takes for me to be like, oh no.
Yeah, you'll be doing the setting up a soccer ball with a face painted on it thing soon enough.
Exactly. I'll let you guys know how it goes.
nice. All right, we will end it with that. Acc, Nate, thank you for being here and joining me.
Thank you for having us as always.
Yeah,
It's been a pleasure.
yeah, this was really good, and I hope we can do this again soon.
Yes.